looking at the wow experience and making sure that we are taking advantage of the opportunities to wow as we go along. And you can actually build that in to your offer. And you should build that in to your offer. So you want to think about nailing down the transformation, because in reality, what people are buying is the transformation. They're not just buying the product. So when you're selling a painting, you are not just selling that oil paint on canvas or oil paint on panel. You are selling the experience, the buying experience. You're selling the feeling they get from when they look at that painting. That is the transformation. You're selling how their home is going to look once that painting is hanging in there. That's what they want. The painting is just the vehicle for getting there. And you may hear people at times talk about the difference between features and benefits. Features are the physical things about the product. Features are the product. Benefits are how the product changes their life. So when somebody needs to put a nail in the wall and they go to Lowe's or Home Depot and they buy a hammer, they are not, the hammer is the feature because it can pound the nail into the wall. It's not the transformation. It's not the benefit. The benefit is having that nail in the wall. There are a whole lot of other tools that can do the same thing, because I've hammered with other stuff besides a hammer before. There are all kinds of ways to get to the same destination. You're going to show them how your painting or your course or your workshop gets them to that destination. So it's not about features. It's not about how long that hammer handle is or what it's made out of or metal versus wooden handle. It's about how easy it is to hold that hammer to nail that wall in so you have the nail in the wall. The nail in the wall is the transformation. So I want you to focus instead on that transformation, that final benefit. Most people who are selling, even online, they're focusing on the benefits. They're just making a list of the benefit, focusing on the features. They're making a list of the product features. I'm going to show you an example in just a minute. You will stand out if you focus on the final benefit or the transformation, if you show them how they will feel after they buy. And you want to orient your promise, your claims, any claims that you make, around what you've discovered in the empathy map, around the words that they talk about that they want to feel. So ask yourself, what results can my product give to my ideal client? My client is anxious. My painting can make them feel calm. My client is bored. My online workshop can make them feel excited and engaged. My client has extra time. My knitting membership can make her feel meditative and calm. So ask yourself, what results can my product give to my ideal client? Does that make sense to y'all? It's the way you make them feel after they buy, not the actual purchase itself. So here's an example. Now, the painting is not actually this size. I could have made that up. So I want you to nail the transformation like I did in this example. There's the painting. And here is a description of it that emphasizes the features. And I know you've seen people do this. This is a 36 by 36 inch oil painting on panel of the Savannah Wildlife Refuge framed in a simple plein air gold frame. Does that make you feel anything? Probably not. It's not even very engaging language. It doesn't have anything in there about what My Perfect People would talk about, or how it might trigger a memory, or how it might bring back a past experience, or how it might make them feel when they have that painting on the wall. Instead, think about creating a statement that pulls them in and makes them feel something different, how they're going to feel once they own the painting. So instead of the first one that emphasizes features, instead write one that emphasizes the final benefit. This 36 by 36 inch oil brings golden light, speeding clouds, and a fresh breeze straight into your favorite space in your home. So can you feel the transformation there? It's bringing the outdoors in, and I'm painting a picture of what that's going to be like for them after they hang it. One is enticing and paints a picture of the experience and the feeling, and the other is, quite frankly, boring and makes me want to click off and go to another page. So when you go to buy a car, and cars are luxury items just like paintings are, when you go to buy a car, you're in the back of your mind, even if you don't admit it, you're thinking about how it's going to make you feel. Part of it's that new car smell. You know, they have that in a can and they spray it in there so the car smells special when you go to buy it. It's how it makes you feel. It's the comfort of the seat, the feel of the steering wheel. And when they use words like that to describe that experience, it makes you want that car. You have to do the same thing with your painting. Do you put that kind of verbiage in every photo for sale on your website? I pretty much do. I call it telling the story of the painting. And so I'll write a description of the story of the painting in that blog post. And I'll paint the picture of what the experience was like as I was making the painting, so that I'm taking them to the place where I painted in their heads. So yes, it's important. And as Sheila Walsh says, you want to engage all the senses. Now it helps I paint stinky places like ones that have pluff mud, or that there's definite odors and scents, but you want to think about how you can make them feel the experience. I'm thinking about one of my students who's in the mastermind who sold a painting to somebody who's been on her email list a long time. And the person, my student in the mastermind's in Canada, and her client on the email list is in San Francisco, bought the painting because of the story my student told about it. And she wrote back to her saying how excited she was to have the painting, because every time she looks at it, she thinks of the story my student told about the painting. So it enriches that whole experience. Appeal to all five senses. Paint a picture of the ownership experience. Make them feel it. Okay, stories don't have to be, and this used to be what hung me up. I thought a story had to have a protagonist in there and tell a literal thing. And it doesn't. It's about how they'll feel. And your paintings make people feel a certain way. And if you're not sure what it is, put a painting up there and ask people how it makes them feel. And then use those words when you're writing the blurb. So use your audience to help you craft that story. So think of a non-objective painting, a totally abstract painting, and think about what it is about that painting that makes people feel a certain way. It's the color. Are they harmonious colors that are analogous to each other, all in blues, so that it creates a sense of calm and peace, like sunlight on the water. So you can use metaphor. So you can use metaphor in there to draw them back to an experience. Chances are pretty good that you were thinking about the metaphor when you were painting it, or you thought about the metaphor afterwards. Pull that in, because abstraction definitely leaves itself wide open to metaphoric interpretation, and to talking about how the color, the lines, and the shapes and the surfaces create a feeling or mood. So if it is an energetic painting, it might have sharp, angular lines that create a sense of movement and energy. See where I'm going with that? I'm painting a picture and telling a story. And that, there are two levels to feelings. There are emotions, which are the human emotions that are attached to sensory experience. Feelings, the sensory experience, that is on a very, it's on a very basic level. It doesn't have anything to do with how we're interpreting. It happens to us. Sensory experience happens to us. Emotion is how we interpret sensory experience. So we have the feelings that we really experience, and we have the emotions, and they're all locked in together. So if you can appeal to that sensory experience, they're going to start feeling the emotions you want them to feel. So it gets easier to do the more you do it, but maybe even write out for yourself the 5 senses so that you'll remember to check yourself to make sure you've hit at least 2 of them, and preferably 3, so that they can recreate that experience and you can create that emotion inside of them. It's really, really, really important. And there's that, Arachme is saying that talking about paintings that are peaceful, cool colors, but is it for a maternity ward? Would the warm feelings or colors be more important because hospitals usually cold? Do you know that most hospitals have art programs? Most hospitals, at the very least, purchase reproductions from the major big printing companies. And they put reproductions of original art in there, and a lot of them buy original art. But they have caveats to what they buy. They want to buy art that is of the natural world or abstractions that invoke a sense of peace and calm. And they do that very intentionally because studies have shown that people heal faster if they're looking at those things. So I would guess if they want to bring in warmth in a maternity ward, that, yeah, I'm trying to think, when my daughter had her baby, what was in there, and I cannot remember for the life of me right now because I was too focused on the baby. But yeah, it makes a big difference. So the painting's title can help. I think people depend too much on that, and so I'm going to tell you, don't depend on that. Don't burden a painting with a laborious title either. I've seen people do that too often. The description is where that really belongs, and the title can help. And you want to put evocative terms into the title, but the title can be very plain. For years, I titled my paintings. I worked in a long series, like the ones that I did of Congaree. It was Congaree Variations number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 25, 56 on up. The title is not as important as people think it is, because most people, when they hang the painting, are not displaying the title next to it. The title can do part of the work for you, but the way that you describe it is way more important. So focus on all of the 5 senses, not just on the temperature feelings, but I would focus on, and I think warm or cool really depends on the painting. There's no one shoe fits everybody on that one. I've painted paintings of cold, and I wanted to evoke the feeling of being cold and the feeling when you're standing in the middle of a big field and the wind is blowing and you've got ice under your feet, because there are people who love that and want to experience it. So there's a person out there for every feeling. So don't try to make all your paintings and all your descriptions match one particular feeling. You want to speak to the way that they want to feel, and pull that into your language. You want to lead with the benefit, with the result they're trying to get ultimately and what they desire the most. Don't talk to them about the features. I want to use an example really quickly of a course. A feature in a course, an online course, might be 15 videos of 60 minutes each. That's a feature. It's not a benefit. The end result they're trying to get is what the benefit is. The end result is that they learn to paint dogs more accurately. Say if you have a class in painting dog portraits. They learn to paint dogs with ease. They learn to paint their best friend's dog with all of his personality and quirks. It's not about 14 videos of 25 minutes each. So lead with the transformation, not the features. How can you, at this point, go back and look at what you've already got and switch to being benefit focused? So, look at the descriptions, the blurbs that you've already got, if you've got a website already, or if you've just got descriptions of your paintings or your artwork or your courses or your workshops. Reposition them, reframe them so that you're leading with the benefits and the transformation. So start with that, and then you can tell them you've got 15 videos that are 30 minutes each, and you're adding a new video all the time. Because there are people who are very analytical, who want to know how many videos you've got. But the emotional part's still important for them too. There are some people who are emotional buyers and some people who are logical buyers. And all of us have a little bit of one or the other. So you need both, but you lead with the transformation. So everybody understand what I mean by the difference between features and benefits, and features and the transformation? Awesome. Yes, fantastic. Y'all are on top of it. So one of the things I want you to think about doing is writing down language. I want you to jot down, right now I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to stream of consciousness, writing down some language you would use to describe your product, whether it's paintings, prints, courses, workshops, whatever it is. I want you to now write down some key language that would appeal to the 5 senses. You don't have to write sentences. I just want you to write down phrases and words that would appeal to the 5 senses and paint a picture of what it's like to have that product in their life. How is it going to make them feel better? How is their world going to be better? They can't get to the marsh to smell the pluff mud, and if they have a painting by me of the marsh, it's going to evoke that smell every time they look at it. So that's an example. You've got to talk about features. Those are features. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Those are features, and those are important. You don't want to ignore them, but you got to lead with the transformation. I think it's important to note that some people are going to be more driven crazy by that than others. And that's why when you do a bigger promotion than I'm talking about during the boot camp, as you email after you open cart, you want to address both of those groups of people who are more emotional buyers and people who are more logical, rational buyers, people who are driven more by the benefits and people who are driven more by the features, because you got to talk to both groups. And if you don't address them, you're going to drive people away. So that's a really good point. There are people who are going to want to know, are you going to ship via FedEx or UPS? There are people who are going to want to know, is shipping included? And there are people who just want that painting because it's so gorgeous. The reason why you have to address both groups is that your perfect people include both groups. Most people are, and most groups of perfect people, there's some people who tend to buy based on emotions only. They are quick starts. Their personality means that they make a decision really fast based on emotion. And then there are people, they're still feeling things. They're still drawn to the transformation, but they're going to make their decision more slowly. They're going to think about it. They're feeling it, but they're going to think about it for a while. They make their decisions over a few days. They deliberate. They might even go ask somebody else for advice. It's a different personality type, and everybody's not the same. And so you want to talk to both kinds of buyers, ones who make quick emotional decisions and ones who make slower, deliberate decisions. Nobody is exactly one or the other, but everybody has a bigger percentage of one over the other. So make sure you get some language. Everybody got some language down, get some things that appeal to feelings. Because we're going to talk about features too. People want to know what size it is. So get some of those phrases written down, because that's going to be some of the language you're going to pull in as you write your offer, as we move towards your homework. So remember, we're going back to what we looked at yesterday. I want to get back to the promise here, and I've hidden my window for myself. There we go. So your niche statement, when I told y'all, I didn't tell you the whole truth there. Your niche statement, the full niche statement, that's called your promise statement. When you're talking about an individual work, when you're talking about a body of work, you're telling people what you do, why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, and what you want them to feel afterwards, and how it's different from everything else out there. So I make, and you've already done this part, you make what, so that they can have a painting in their living room, but it's going to make them feel like they can feel the salt air or feel the breeze. And how is that unlike what? Unlike, what's the opposite of having a painting on the wall that makes them feel the breeze? What's the opposite of having a painting on a wall? Not having a painting on a wall. So the opposite of having the painting would be having an empty space, instead of having a blank, cold wall. The alternative to having a painting is not having a painting. So what does it make them feel like if they don't have a painting there? And again, you can touch very lightly on pain points, or leave them out right now if it feels like you're pushing too hard at a pain point. Yeah, work it lightly into your narrative. So unlike can go into the offer. So you can weave it into the offer. Tread very carefully right now so that you're not pushing hard on things that are really painful. So for example, you can even imply it without actually saying it. So I could say, so that they feel the warmth of the sun and the breeze filled with salt air. That is both why they want to feel it, and it also is the unlike, because they can't go outside right now. And I don't necessarily want to tell them, since you can't go outside, I'm giving you a painting that's going to make you feel like that. I just want to paint the picture of the outside. Because if I talk about, I know you can't go outside right now and you're trapped in your house and you're kind of getting stir crazy and you really would love to be out on the beach and listening to the waves. So here's a painting of the waves and the beach. And they're going to go, and it's going to be a wordy dirt, and it's not going to be really nice, and they're not going to buy my painting. So you have to be really careful with those unlikes. You can talk about, and you can actually put the unlikes up at the top or instead of. It's the alternative to their having whatever it is that you're offering. And so, like, for example, with a course or a workshop, the alternative to taking a workshop or a course is to figure it out on your own. So how long does it take you to figure it out on your own? If you're trying to learn how to draw a landscape, how long is it going to take you to figure it out on your own versus taking a course? If you're trying to learn how to create an assemblage, how long is it going to take to learn on your own versus taking a course? That's the alternative. You can also talk about it's going to be easy because you're going to be able to take it from the comfort of your own home instead of having to travel and be around other people. That's the alternative. And online has been appealing to a lot of people for a long time because there's a real thing out there called workshop fear. There are people who get all hung up on performance anxiety when they go to workshops, and they can't paint when they go to workshops, but they do just fine in an online course. So you can talk about that. It's an alternative to going to a live workshop and having that workshop anxiety. Now, I want you to string that all together as a rough draft right now. And you can take what you've already got as the draft for that first part and fill in how they're going to feel after they get things, and then how it's going to be different from their not getting it. What would it be like to not have it?